everyone. Welcome to the Emergence podcast, an evolving inquiry into the human mind and spirit. This is your higher consciousness podcast. I'm Alice, and I'm joined today by Mark, our co-host, and we're going to talk about an important topic today, why write books? And we'll give you a little preview into our journey as authors and the books that we have written and why we continue to write books. So I guess we'll begin with that, Mark. Why did you start? Why did you write your book? And then you're going to ask me the same question. House of Giral. What's it
Yeah.
about? Why why
Well,
do why'd you write it?
it's about a pretty girl complex.
The title of my book.
Right. We're writing about the same thing.
We're writing about the same thing. For the viewers, I'm going to pull up our books. But yeah, so Mark, what's it about? Give us the storyline.
Well, there's a lot of storylines. There's the pretty girl storyline, right?
Uh-huh.
That's a classic storyline, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty girls, they have it all. It's great to be pretty, but like with everything, there is a paradox.
Yeah, what would that be?
Well, the pretty girl is like the shining object, right? Everybody wants a piece of her, and then she ends up not wanting any of them, or she ends up
No, she can't do
protecting
that.
her.
No, everybody has their own roles and responsibilities. And if you're pretty, you really have an advantage. That's the best thing that could happen to you, right?
Pretty girls. This is Mark's
Sure.
book, House of Giral. This is it, and I'm gonna read actually. Let me see if I can go ahead and click on it. And let me see if I can. You got a couple of reviews. I love it. So let's read it. Let's read. We're going to do a quick one here. A fast-paced medical thriller that sets and follows Joe Hart's lifelong quest to recover and rediscover her principal identity. Pasting back fractures, pieces of forgotten memories, Joe, an orphan of Taurus, receives a little help from her friends, a loyal and lovable group, all of whom must embark on a dark forensic journey of transformative self-discovery. Through song, dream, and diary, Joe is met in secret disclosures whose images paint a horrific picture of past life of sexual and physical abuse at the hands of Pablo, her father, a psychopathic family killer in the house of Giral. All one can do is watch and wait as this charged group is propelled towards a newfound justice of recognizance and consilience, a transformative destiny and karmic judgment of genomic sorts, past, forward, at birth. So, Mark, you use a lot of great vocabulary words. Sorry, guys, my screen is acting up. I love genomic sorts. What is going on with Joe Hart?
Well, what's going on with Joe Hart is what's going on with everyone else, all of the girls that we're talking about. This is a novel about a girl.
A
You
pretty
know,
girl that has a
pretty
complex.
girl. Yeah, yeah. This is what the Beatles wrote about, right? A girl, right? Like that's one of their most famous songs, right? Um, I mean, okay. So what kind of journey do our girls have, right? Well, my my book
Transformative.
my book was inspired by a number of different novels, but the one that comes to mind right away is Girl Interrupted.
Oh, of course, one of the best.
And in that book, you had a borderline personality. Actually, you had two
Mhm.
borderline personality and different. They were very differently portrayed, but they were both borderline. And you had a lot of trauma and substance abuse and risky behavior and danger and chaos and all of that. And um, that's one path, but
Mhm.
these girls are interrupted. There is trauma, right? There's post-traumatic stress, but this is like really common. This is a problem that we're seeing like all the time.
We see it, there's awareness. So if we actually compare you've mentioned Pretty Girl Complex, and that is the name of my book. So Mark and I found each other in a writing group, and he was just like,
What
hey,
kind of writing? What kind of writing group was this?
it was like sub writing community. My bad. It was Substack. So why is this? Let's hide this. So
Okay, wait,
Pretty
no,
Girl,
sort of, yeah, but you know what? We had many things that were synchronically seen in common. Like,
we're
for
gonna talk
instance,
about that in a second.
Liz. What about Liz? Like, how do you know it wasn't her that
Matched.
instigated the meetup?
Well, how do we know that Liz wasn't the one? I don't even know. Well, we through Liz introduced us? No, I think it was on Substack. I think you read one of my articles, no?
I can't say, but
I
I'm
don't think we
saying
remember.
there's another entry point.
There's another
There's a
entry
number,
point.
there's a number of entry points.
So there's a number of entry points. Okay. So
Now,
Marcus,
take a look at your story. The girl, it looks like Girl Interrupted. It looks like Angelina Jolie.
she's trying, I'm by the way changing the cover so I can have probably another cover, update the cover.
No, the
But
cover's great. It's like um it could easily be borderline personality, right?
you
But
think
the psychiatric diagnoses involved are they're important and they're interesting, but they're a subtext. They're not the text, they're the subtext. But and that's why I wrote the book that I did. It's a medical, like it really is. It flows in a medical way and it has like a lot of medical undertones, although
yeah.
these undertones mostly um, the feedback that I get is that they interrupt more than add value. And but that was my own choice. Like I decided to do it authentically, like from a physician like
Perspective.
background. I didn't want to like mix the two narratives. And I would have liked to have explained these medical things, so that they would understand it. But people can look it up, right? It's not that like
Exactly.
at a point in the book, like some sort of not foreign words are being used, and you can look them up, right? And you'll get the drift of what's going on if you want to.
Well, I think what's important here is that you talk about the girl interrupted concept and the transformation of self. So the same thing here is my novel Maya is about a Miami-based dancer who mothers a daughter before engaging in the superheroic act of becoming a surrogate for another couple. So it talks about a woman has to navigate her relationship and her career. Then she is a surrogate originally to a friend who was dying of cancer. Then she became a surrogate mother to a second time to a gay couple. This came to me all through stream of consciousness. I wrote this book in 2017. I started talking about surrogacy IVF before it became a trend. And it is also, to your point in your book, about a woman's transformation. So my copy is a little bit longer, but basically, uh, I think Alan said it the best. Right here, the last one quote from her. She's the co-founder of an entrepreneurial conference called Secret Knocks, where I met one of my mentors. And she says, in our society where the magnitude of external success and personal image often has a matching disconnect to the internal psyche, the author challenges to see the complexity of every relationship as told through the eyes of characters most people don't want to write about. So, most people don't want to write about Joe Hart. Most people don't want to write about surrogate mothers and the choices they have to make. So, would you say that we know that these topics are important? We know that we should expose these pretty girl complexes. We know we should expose these women. But is there another side of us that we don't want to? Or
Probably.
they, or because it's
Probably.
going to shed light into our own deficiencies, or why?
That's a good question. I mean, it is what's going on. And so why does one not want to know what's going on? Um, because one lies to oneself, right? You can reduce everything down to ego if you want to.
Delusion. And if we're
Well,
delusional, it's ego then.
truth, like, just be true to yourself. And when you aren't, there's consequences.
In the psyche, usually, which then
Yes. And
become physical illness.
what the line that I like that I wrote was Humans don't melt, psyches do.
Humans don't melt. Well, the psyche melts first and then the body deteriorates, right?
Well, it's actually synchronous. It's happening at the same time. And like people like to divorce physical things from psychological, but and it's been that way in medicine for years, but the truth is it's all happening at the same time.
Yeah. Cell death program.
Cell death, yes, that's right. I mean, we're born with a life program and we're born with a death program. And the question is, which one's going to be expressed?
Well, isn't the death, aren't we just closer to death every day as we live this
Yeah,
life?
yes, meaning the death program takes over.
But
But
then
there's really paradox.
we prolong the death program with our life program, right?
Or yeah, or like medications that prolong. Yeah, yes, yes. Think about it that way. Absolutely. That's what's going on. Yes.
So then some people will say then like if everything then why should we even like a lot of people are I just spoken to my girlfriend about or my female friend she was ambitious her whole life she comes from a poor family she's pretty in her own way she doesn't think she's pretty but we're talking about pretty girls here and just women in general and she says she's surviving. You know, she has a banking job, her husband has a good job, she's pregnant with their second child. She's 30, only 32, 33, and she's losing motivation. She was very ambitious and she's losing that spirit. What why is that? Is it the system just the culture's against us?
Yes.
Society?
Yes.
So then who are those people that continue to keep shining their light? Why does one person shine their light and the other one dims it? What's the difference? And is it a personality, a character? Is it because you're pretty or not pretty or the money you have in your bank account? Why does one shine their light?
Only the good die young.
27 Club?
Well, there's that. There's that. But really, like, think about the people who died young, and you'll find out they were mostly good, which means that, darkness, evil, whatever you want to call it, is around all the time, right? It's only these little lights that shine amongst the darkness, right?
And they die young because they don't want to be around the darkness anymore? Why do they
I
young?
probably, yeah. Yeah. They
When their
probably don't
soul
want
is
to.
just so, I just yawned during my own podcast,
Well,
but
but I mean, like when you say don't want to, like,
I
it's a bit of
yawned
no
because I'm like,
concept,
this
okay?
darkness needs to go. I
Yeah,
yawned
I
and
know
like,
the 27 Club all killed themselves, okay?
but why?
Because they sensed too much. It was way too much. Like
Hmm.
they were way over at the extreme. Like take a look at all of them.
Kurt
Amy
Cobain, Amy
Winehouse,
Winehouse.
Kurt Cobain, all of them, right? Like that's all the same thing. Um, Van Gogh. It's all too much, right? And
They
you can't
felt
live out
too.
on the extreme. You can't live there. Can't take it. And that's what this severe mental illness is all about. Like, if you ever see severe mental illness, like severe paranoid schizophrenia or um, significant, like anicolic depression, like absolutely detached, like blank, like no connection, no meaning, like totally disconnected from everything. It's shuddering to see it. Like it's not like depression. Depression is a serious thing, and it abounds. It abounds. But this is even like you look at this and you go, when you look at like the particular characteristics of illnesses, that each one is a bit shocking. Like when you learn about like serial killers, and you learn that the majority of them have schizotypal personality disorder, and then you look at um, you know um, these are serial murderers. And then you look at family annihilators and you see a different kind of like, in a sense, this is like Criminal Minds, you know, um, um, characterizations, but they're very accurate, right? I mean, these are different characters. A psychopath is a different thing than, say, borderline personality, right? These are all mental representations, right? And they're of like characteristics that we see all the time out there. Um, part of what Jung would say would be archetypes, right?
Hmm.
Um, as an example, and like just to say, like the female archetype is, I mean, it all starts with male and female archetypes, right? So when you get back to femininity, right? But yeah, there's like you got the Joker archetype, you got like the one that cons everybody. That's a big one, right? Like,
What's
uh,
your archetype?
me,
Yeah.
I'm the mediator. I'm the mediator. I'm like, numerology 3, right?
I'm a numerology 8, so I'm the builder or I'm the pretty girl complex.
Yeah, neither. You're faith. Eight's faith.
8 is fate, so whatever
Yeah.
will be no matter what I do.
Great. Now you can like retire. You've got it, right?
Why do I work so hard?
Yeah.
It's about letting go of the expectation, right? That's a tough one. Should we have expectations or should we look for more alignment? It's so where this was a question recently that I got. Like, okay, so we have a problem of expectation. When we don't get what we want or when we don't get what we think what we want, we can enter this depression. But I will almost wonder, is it expectation or should we be looking for the magical moments of synchronicity? Because that will happen anyway. So we don't meet the expectations, right?
Okay. Everything in life is experienced through synchronicity.
I
Okay.
love it.
You navigate life through reason and rationality and all that. Just put it aside. Um, Life is lived through synchronicity. Synchronicity is meaningful shared experiences, like
Hmm.
meaningful coincidences, right? And that's where meaning is found by definition. And so experiencing meaning is all of what life is about.
Yeah, it's not logical, but we're always trying to make those logical decisions. But if I actually think
All
about it,
subjective. It's
I went
subjective.
to Switzerland, not a logical decision. I went for love. I went to Spain because I one day asked myself the question, where would I be happy? Where's my heart? And that literally Spain popped up in my head. And then I said, great, I'll buy a one-way ticket from Switzerland to Spain. My friend said, go to Valencia, our yoga instructors from there. And I came and I stayed. It's been 3 years. And I don't have a plan. Like I'm doing
Just
these
let your
podcasts
heart
and
lead the way.
writing.
I mean, we've heard this 1,000 times, right? In many different forms, right?
Mm.
Just let your heart lead the way.
But we are having a health crisis in almost every country, including Germany, Spain, United States, that the number one cause of death is heart attack or cardiovascular.
It's always
It,
been that way.
huh?
It's always been that way. It's always been that
Really?
asthma, yeah, is cardiac. Always. Why do you think that is?
Because we never go with our heart.
Yes, because we've have not like stood up against it, right? And have like been heartless, having no heart. Like despair is just a little bit
Despair.
less than spirit, right?
And the heart is the most highest frequency and vibrational, right?
All right.
Like,
I'm going to just bring up some really strange stuff. So just if you don't want to talk about it, but anagram of heart.
huh?
Do you know any anagrams of heart?
No.
Earth.
Well,
So
heart is
anagrams are the same
grounding.
letter, just shifted around. So there's some relationship between earth and heart.
Mm. Well, when I feel I'm in my heart, I do feel more grounded. I'm more in my heart in nature, where I'm like in gratitude and meditating and at the sea and just sitting there. Like I do these sea cleanses where twice a week I go for a walk. I invite people, not everybody wants to join, but like it's almost like I have to schedule it, otherwise I don't get off the computer. And it's the nature is free and available, but we're not there. We're
Well, not,
becoming
not like just
detached.
because everybody knows, be honest with yourself, be true to yourself, like, express your essence. Everybody knows this stuff. Like, however, everybody sins, right? lies, right? The first order of the house, at least in my novel and in House, I'm talking about the show, was that rule number one is patients lie. Always,
I've lied
always
to
lie.
my doctor, but I've also told him the truth. I don't always lie to
Well,
my
I
doctor.
mean, the doctor can't really be a good advocate for you if you like don't tell him the truth or her.
Well, I know some people that say like when the doctor asks me how much I drink, I always say like, oh, never or a few drinks
Yeah,
sometimes,
no, I
but
know.
I
Like
drink every day.
right, when I was doing my training, there was Peter Clark's rule, like whatever, whatever girls say, you double it, and whatever guys say, you triple it. That was Clark's rule. Yeah.
Oh God, hacks and tips from a doctor, guys, if you're tuning in. I just want to do a little quick check with the audience. This is a great opportunity for you guys to subscribe to our channel. We're new. We launched last year at the end of the year because we were taking a year discussing these topics and Mark said like we should put it out there because that's what Liz said and people told us to do that.
It is.
So
It's exactly what Liz said,
please
right?
email us with
She
comments
said
and
that. She
questions.
should have been the central person to just link this synchronicity. But then I received this other thing from Facebook that Facebook told me that you should be my friend. But I got this well over a year after we had met. Like, just a
Oh yeah, and that
reminder.
was when on the day Christ was born, right? December
You ever feel
25th.
surprised? Oh, was it? Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, it was. But
Birth.
these synchronicities, like they can pass you by, and you can say, "Oh, that's just coincidence," and it is just coincidence, except it's meaningful coincidence. That's what synchronicity is.
And really what happens when you have a synchronic moment. So imagine this, you're kind of doing something structured, you're building, you're optimized, you're just like, you're in your thing, your lane. And then you all of a sudden have a synchronicity. It's like a pattern interrupt, and it completely changes the course of your life.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So a lot of
And
people,
also for the audience, sorry, you want to say something? I was just going
no,
to say, just to the audience, Carl Jung came up with the idea of synchronicity. That's his idea.
synchronicity. So one of the things I want to also mention is that some people fight it and then they end up getting sick. They fight it and then there's another synchronic event, and those are meant to steer you on the correct journey, right? On the journey of your life, your soul.
I think so. Like, I mean, everything is really only known in retrospect. You often don't know what things mean. You don't know what to do, right? But you
Mm,
know in retrospect, after the thing happens, you know. So, like, is that a sign of something, right? Well, it might be. Like, for instance, um, the Twin Towers. I mean, if that's not a sign, right? I mean, that happened on the date was September the
9/11.
11th. That's 911. That's the emergency number. Now, you're going to say, well, that's just a coincidence. No, I don't think so. That's not a coincidence. That's a sign. And like, oh, well, can you provide me more evidence that it's a sign and not just a coincidence? Sure. Bob Dylan released an album on that day. It was called Love and Theft,
On 9/11,
kind of on the day.
that the Twin Towers fell.
Yeah. And that was
Wow.
obviously planned well in advance. To think about the title of the title of it, Love and Theft. It's a great title, right? You usually think about love and hate or love and something else, but this is theft. But this is really what it's about. That we're thieving ourselves, like we're deceiving ourselves, right?
Mhm.
We know we're lying, right? But so it comes back to all the sins, right? And this is like where the coincidence with Christ happens, right? And all this, right? This is really what it's about. Like people find meaning like in different things, but they're like shared things. Like they start with a subjective, you, right? And then
You.
they're linked
Yeah.
to something
It's
else,
not,
right?
it's not, hey, who are you? What job do you have? It's they see you, feel you, and then they go, hi, what's your name? What do you do? But there's a you first, a subjective, it's an image, it's a portrait that somebody paints. And then they're peeling the layers of the onions. They don't see a resume first. They see you and your form, which is important to put yourself out there and meet people even though it can feel risky. But everything, a sales call is risky, love is risky. Crossing the street is risky. So there's the actual risk and the perceived risk. And we live in a lot of perceived risk, right? Perceived fear than actual fear of like the lion eating us. And my
Oh
phone's,
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no, we're. I mean, we're not like living out there in the Amazon. Like,
no.
at least
So,
not a lot of us are are not.
so what's one thing we can give an insight for the audience or something so they can take home from today's podcast? I think I'm going to start doing that. Is just if we can kind of give one insight or inspiration
Right,
to the audience,
right. Well, I think it's just let things happen.
let things happen.
Yeah, like for instance, I didn't go and out and seek out a friendship in you, but it certainly was directed, and I just
Yeah,
let it happen. Like I was not, I was, like I was open to the thing, right? That's you have to have an open heart, right? Yeah, you gotta be open to the
that's
thing, or
true.
if you're
Yeah, and I kept
close to
following
the
up.
idea of something, like it's not going to penetrate, right?
I kept following up and I kept having the weekly call. And actually, before we go, I do want to pull up we didn't get to the article, but I'll do a little minute, do it quick. So, with books, this is another synchronicity. So, why do we write books? Think of it like this. You have a story to tell, and that story is inside of you. And you know you want to tell it, but you always put it off. I've put off 10 years before I wrote Pretty Girl Complex, and then I just did it. So a book could be, you could write a page a day, notes, and then eventually over 365 days, you have a book. So let's talk about just the first few lines here. The brutal reality is that books don't usually make you rich. We know that. Not directly, not immediately, not in the fantasy way people imagine. But books do something better, and I'm going to say bigger. They become your calling card, your business card, your personal lighthouse, a way to meet other people like minded. They become the language of your soul. So your mind goes into work, your mind goes into relationship, and your mind goes into the daily grind. That's your mind, but your heart goes into your writing. And when you're free flowing or writing from a float state, that's your spirit. That's not logical. Your brain doesn't take over. Your brain says, how should we structure the sentences in the story? But your spirit says, this is what I want to express, to guide Alice into writing. So Mark has written his wonderful book, and really that talks about mind, body, spirit, and the soul, just like Pretty Girl Complex. And from our collaboration and realizing that our books are actually a synchronicity in itself, and the collaboration of weekly calls led us into the formation of this podcast. And it's not just a way for us to promote our books or talk about some of the subjects in our books, but it's really about pressing topics of our time. And really, this podcast is about mind, body, spirit, and how does the psyche find a place for itself, and how can we make sense of these complicated ideas and all the chaos that you are expressing. So it's really about providing some sort of guidance and mediation, as Mark called it, to helping you find your center, your story from the heart that you can then write a book about. So this is just what flew to me. This is what flew to me. Flow state, channeling here. Mark, if you want to say a couple of closing points, and we're done today.
Yeah. Well, it was like I don't disagree with anything you say. Um, and there's a lot of reason and like analytics in what you're saying. But the truth is that we didn't seek out each other. It sought us.
Yeah,
That's the truth of it, right? And how it all happened, like we have some ideas, but we really don't know, right? And it's
true.
because we just let it happen. Like we didn't know what it was. but we didn't judge it. We didn't even try to like label it or anything. We just let it all happen, right? And that's
Yeah.
really the kind of, like when you say flow state, that's the flow state. And that's really where the transformations happen. Like um, the only way that really you can transform is through an altered state.
True.
You need an altered state. You can't be in the standard state of mind, right? And which is rationality, right? You need to be in an altered state, and it doesn't matter what type. So dreams are the most operative of the subconscious states, right? Where ideas and images flow in and out, and then there's dream work on how you try to put the picture together.
Mhm.
Um, at least according to Freud and his analysis of dreams. And this is one major player, okay, in state, right?
Mhm.
But there's also other states of mind. For instance, the psychedelic state of mind is what we call entropic,
Mm.
which is completely chaotic, meaning that it destroys rationality and ego. Like there's
Mhm.
nothing left. That's why it's so creative, right? Because you've got to start anew, and it's an altered state of mind, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Meditation, music is a big one, right? That gets people, that transports people all the time. In fact, in the novel, it was music that transported Joe right from the beginning.
Music. And I have in my novel dance.
Right, same thing.
Music. She was
It's
actually a manager of a big dance company in
yeah,
Miami.
it's the
So
muse. It's the muse, right?
the muse and the music. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in, Mark. It's always a pleasure to have this conversation. Please subscribe to our channel. Always a pleasure to hear from you guys. And we're going to drop our links to the books in the description. So have a blessed day, Mark,
You
and to the
too.
audience.
Yeah.